everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Plant Powered Business Strategies to Grow Your Positive Impact. I'm Brianna, and I'm joined with my co-host and friend, Johanna.
Hi.
And today we're taking a little bit of a different track. We're mixing things up a little bit. So you probably know us mostly for our marketing tips and our vegan and plant-based ideas and strategy and all of those things helping the movement that we love. But today we want to hit something that definitely applies a little bit more broadly to entrepreneurship as a whole. Even if you're not in entrepreneurship, I feel like this is going to hit you and hit home. What we're going to talk about is money mindset. And neither of us are financial planners. We're coming at this as entrepreneurs and telling you stories, sharing tips of how becoming an entrepreneur really helped shape our money mindset, helped us redefine our relationship with money, all for the better. So we hope that this is helpful and you take away something that you want to try to. If you have a tip that you loved from this episode or that you've used in your own life or business, please feel free to share it. The more we share and help support each other, the better we're all off, even outside the vegan movement. So definitely want this to be collaborative too. But we'll start with our own experiences and ideas, and we hope that they're helpful. So first things first, Johanna, I wonder if we each just share a little bit about like where we came from and what the past couple of years have looked like in redefining our relationship with money. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds amazing.
Cool, cool. I can go first just from like a 3,000-foot view.
Yeah.
I grew up with a parent who was a financial planner, and so money was always talked about in my family, but I in complicated and complex ways. It wasn't very practical. Those of you that are in the US know that many of our school systems don't teach things like how to write a check or opening a bank account, those practical life skills. So when I started in the workforce, you get that first paycheck and you're just like, oh my gosh, I got paid. It's this excitement, but then stress immediately because you'd have no idea what to do with it. You hear things like, oh, start building a credit score. What's a credit score? Why am I even going to need that? I just got my first paycheck, right? And so there was a lot of unsure moments and stress around money, even from the beginning, even coming from a family that talked about money. um, but I think it's important to not have preconceived notions about people that have someone in their family that knows anything about money, because we're inheriting their beliefs about money.
Yeah.
So even if they know things about money, it might not be what fits for you. So even if you're like, oh, I had a parent like that, I know what a checking account is, I'm fine. We invite you to reflect on those things during this episode. So when I became an entrepreneur, flash forward many years, but when I became an entrepreneur, a lot of those became very in my face. And I had to do a lot of reflection because I was very accountable for my business, my livelihood, because I was freelancing and whatever I brought in the door is what paid my mortgage. So it became something that I couldn't avoid and something that I had to reflect on a lot. A lot of stress over, oh gosh, I have to worry about taxes now. Someone's not taking them out for me. What if I get in trouble? What if one of my animals has a medical emergency and I don't have anything in savings? And so becoming an entrepreneur and becoming that accountable for every dollar in and out and where it was going, really invited me to change my relationship with money and to get a better understanding of how it was being used in my life. So I spent a lot of time understanding how all my finances were set up, one, um, which, as a side note, in the US is pretty new still for women, and not to make this a gendered thing, but within the past 50 years, we were able to open our own bank accounts, right? And so it's still a new concept that women are able to own property, to have credit cards, to have checking accounts without a man. So it's still new for us, even if we aren't that generation, our parents were. So we're still learning. So I feel like that's a big part that I definitely want to emphasize and give space for. But then too, when you're a business owner, you're building a business and have dreams and goals for that business and where you want to take it and what kind of impact you want to make and how money can be a tool to get you there. So learning to dream with money, learning to use money as a tool to get the things that impact that I wanted, right? Was a shift for me because it went from transactional of a dollar comes in, I pay my mortgage, the dollar goes out, to I can leverage a client relationship to make this larger impact. That is the reason I started my business. And so it goes from dollar in, dollar out to working with this client and yes, being paid for it, but working with this client helps me achieve this larger goal. So getting a handle on money and being able to change that relationship of how money helps you live the life that you want to live were the
Yeah.
two major shifts for me. What about you?
Yeah, wow. So yeah, so many thoughts, and thanks for sharing so openly. And I think it's so fascinating to hear like people's stories and backgrounds, because yeah, we have very different, like we come from very different places and have different backgrounds, but yeah, we're on a very similar journey, and I love kind of what you were getting to, that understanding that money is a tool, like it's a, yeah, tool for the impact, and it can be a tool for good and for bad or for evil and or like awful things. I think that has been one of the biggest kind of mindset shifts for me to understand, and really like I've spent a lot of time thinking about that and working like through my beliefs and attitudes over the last years. But yeah, going back or really to childhood, or because I've been like trying to figure out my money story, and anyways we're all the time, you know, telling ourselves stories, and who knows, maybe in a few years I will see it differently, but what I'm thinking right now is that I have had a very complex and messed up relationship with money, probably a lot of us, but and I think part of it goes back to, so like I come from this kind of farming, pretty working class background. All of my grandparents were farmers. I think I might have mentioned it before. And my parents, like my dad he's retired, but he's like farming as a hobby still. But my parents worked in the dairy industry. So my background is very much in the like animal agriculture and using animals to make money and make a living. And you know, when I was small, it was normal to me. But then the older I got, like in my teens, you know, I stopped eating animals and everything, and I just became like aware of like, wow, like everything I have around me, it comes from this system that I just so don't agree with, and it caused a lot of like, it was, yeah, like a very difficult realization. And so there was always like enough money around, like we didn't like really struggle, but also like my parents or nobody really in my family like was spending a lot of it, but it was, yeah, it was just very like very difficult to come to like grips or like yeah, grasp that reality. And I think because of that, like once I moved out of my own home and my parents place to my own home, and kind of got involved in like these like activist, more leftist circles, which was like I felt like where my heart was and the people that I, you know, shared my values. I became very like anti-money, and also like anti, I think, work in a way, or paid work, or at least work just for the money, because it was, yeah, somehow so entangled in this like kind of awful things. And at the same time, like of course, you know, I love my parents and my family. It was, but yeah, it wasn't it wasn't easy navigating all of this. And I think for like to cut a very long story short, I think I really like kind of created a lot of these beliefs around that money is like the root of all evil, or like it's evil, or it's bad, like it, you know, it's somehow more noble, like if you don't want too much, or try to manage with less. And I think it affected the direction that I kind of chose for myself. Like I was, you know, like studying I like had kind of like high hopes for myself, or I was very like purpose driven, but somehow money was never the. I just tried to kind of like ignore it in a way, and then forward some years, like several years of freelancing, and I just like got to this point of like, okay, this is not sustainable. Like I'm just like barely like making ends meet all the time. Like I need something else also, and then yeah, I started to. I don't know how it actually happened, but I think I just got tired of my like old thoughts and started investing in my career. And then over the last few years, things started to shift, and I started to question what I actually think about money and work and making an impact, and how they're related, and how you can think about things differently. So I'll stop there. I still have a lot, a lot to say, but that's kind of the background. I hope that makes sense what
Oh, it
I'm
makes so much
what I'm
sense.
explaining.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes so much sense. And yes, there's so much to say on this topic.
Yeah.
I wanted to start with the stories because I think it's so
Yeah.
important to look back and kind of
Yeah.
understand like why we feel the way that we do about money, or most things, honestly, in life. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing your story. So again, similarly, so openly. I think it's really beneficial for people to hear different perspectives, and different ways of thinking about money and how you were raised in money. They might see similarities, or they might say, "Hey, I never thought about it that way before." So I think there's a lot of power in looking back and sharing. Um, and two, how I mentioned that women in the US face discrimination or weren't allowed to use money in certain ways. Like even if they legally could own property, there was discrimination about how to finance that property or if they even should or could within their communities, right? And so just understanding where you come from, and how the people who raised you or came before you thought about money and how that impacts you is super powerful. Um, I'm not sure how to transition from something so deep though. Perhaps we can talk about shift in mindsets. And
Yeah.
it can we can shift to personally now and in our own experiences and of course give gratitude and thanks to the people that raised us and how they raised us, but in how we're choosing to move forward in our relationship with money. I think a mindset shift for me has been moving from a space of scarcity, into one of how can I think about this in terms of abundance. It's a difficult one, and I'm by no means an expert in it, so I hope this doesn't come off
Mm.
preachy at all. But I think for me, a lot of it, like I was talking about before, is that dollar in, dollar out. Like I have to meet this number, or else my mortgage isn't going to get paid. And there's a lot of scarcity stress over focusing on that number versus the energy that money can bring in as a tool,
Yeah.
and focusing on the impact and the results instead of that limit, that there's, oh, I could never make 10K months. I remember thinking that like there's no way people like me don't make that kind of money. I remember when I made my first 10K month, I didn't even want to share it because I'm like, this can't be real. Like, um, and so there are those limiting beliefs of scarcity of there's only so much money. Like, how can I be worth 10K of that pot? There's no way. But when it happens and your horizon or awareness around what's possible broadens, I think it's easier to start to see, oh, there's abundant opportunities. Like there are so many ways to bring in and attract money to achieve the goals that I have for myself. Even if that's just to keep myself safe and to protect my animals. Like there are multiple ways to do that. Money is not finite. There is no scarcity thing. How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it resonates, and yeah, I agree that it's not easy. Like especially if I think not necessarily when you kind of find out about this like scarcity versus abundance thinking. Like I struggled with it a lot, but what helped me was just like kind of like challenging myself to see like abundance out there. Like, I know this sounds so spiritual, but it's just life. I feel like, whatever you want to believe, you will find the evidence for it out there. And I think, like, for me, like, abundance is, it's not just about the money, like the, numbers on the account, or the cash. Like, of course it's very real, but it's much more than that. Like that, like, all the support I've gotten, like how much, like, abundance is there, like, out there, like in the nature, and like all the, like, goodness of the people, like all the good things people do with their money, and just like kind of train yourself to focus on something a bit different from what you used to. For example, like, if you recognize that you have a, like, scarcity mindset, like I did, and then, like, slowly somehow, like, I feel like you actually start to see more of the good, more of the opportunities, and also, like, strangely enough, more of them, like, come to you. So yeah, that's what I can say from my experience. Just like
Yeah.
look at it, like with curiosity, and also like a practical thing, because I realized that's because, like, I've struggled a lot with, like um making ends meet, like, as a
Mhm.
freelancer. But at the same time, like, I always made it, like there was always somehow, like, enough, sometimes even more, and just like kind of, yeah, looking for the evidence that, like,
Yeah.
I can do it, and there's even more out there. And I think it's different if you have a paid job where somebody else decides what you make. But if you have your own business, like, theoretically and in practice too, like, you get to decide what how much you like ask for which work, or like which service. And yeah, not yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought up that there's some practicality that we can bring into this, because I also remember when we first were learning about this with the fabulous sales coach Renata DeMello, who comes into the copy posse and offers sales trainings around money mindset too. That was super impactful for me. But I remember first when I was back, baby entrepreneur, being exposed to these ideas and being like, okay, sure. Like,
Yeah.
there's abundance in money and I can just attract it and it can be all woo woo. And what? Like, I need to pay my mortgage at the start of next month. Like, how am I going to get a new client? Let's talk practical. Um, so I think, like, maybe we transition into some of the practical tips that, even if they were kind of woo still, like
Mm,
journaling or gratitude or anything that helped you. Because I think when we give like action tips, that's when it actually started to take root for me, and I could start to see
yeah.
my perspective change and the energy change, and then the money coming in change as a result. So I'll share one
Yeah.
that meant a lot to me, I think, was changing or coming up with in the first place a money mantra. And a person recommended this to me to like post it on my mirror even. So I would see it every day, somewhere that you're going to look every day. So I have a few ways that I do this. One is the sticky note option. I even wrote it fully on my mirror in an erasable marker at a time. um, and it had things to, oh, I don't remember it anymore what the first one was, but it had something to do with money's all around me. I have a great relationship with money, like money loves me. And as silly as these things might sound, when you start repeating to yourself every day, money is everywhere. Money is all around me. That scarcity starts to creep out of your everyday mindset. And so you start to see opportunity everywhere. It's about shifting what you're looking for, because if you're out there saying there's nothing here for me, you're not going to find anything because you're so
Mm,
focused. There's nothing there. We create our realities, right? But if you're like, opportunity is everywhere, you're going to start seeing those opportunities come forward to you, those sales pop up, whatever it might be in your world. Another way I do it is I'm very colorful and artsy, and I'm no way a graphic designer, but I can play around in Canva. And so part of how I do that is I'll create like a template of these little money mantras and how I want money to support me, right?
Hmm.
So for example, like I don't want to feel guilty for having fun with my money is decoratively in there. I want to be able to support my animals. So there's like a little cartoon with an animal. So it's these goals that I have for money that I've produced in artistic ways that resonate with me. So it's not just this mantra, but I have like a visual too. So
Yeah.
maybe I want to go on a trip with the dogs and I want to go hiking. I'll post a picture of where I want to take them on a hike. So you have those visuals to remind yourself that money is bringing in this value and energy to your life too. Um, so while those might sound a little new, it gives you a practical tip of something to go do and
Yeah.
not just think like, oh yeah, sure, I can think abundant and not scarcity. But if you actually like practice it in some way, it hits different. What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So I have a couple of kind of exercises that I've done myself
Sure.
that really helped me that I wanted to share. And one is uh, like just well, I like journaling, so so like take a piece of paper and just write down and a pen and write down everything you can like you've ever heard of uh, about money, like all kinds of things, like really just like take even a bit more time than you think you need, like if you feel like some resistance coming, like keep going, like really all kinds of sayings, all kinds of phrases, like even what do you know the names of songs or like movies, whatever, because money is everywhere, and like whatever you believe about it, it's not like you came up with it, yeah, it came from the people before you or and then the people around you, and it is much more like spiritual or like mental than we often think about. And I think so after like writing down everything you've ever heard, then like really like go through it, and do you actually believe that, like do you agree with that, like for example for me this that like money is the root of all evil, like I don't agree with it anymore, but there was a time that I did. And like if possible, like or if you find something that you don't agree with, like try to flip it, like write the opposite, and see how that lands, like how you react, your mind and body reacts to that. Like for me that has been a way to like slowly but surely change some of those beliefs. Like I'm not saying that it's going to change overnight necessarily. And then kind of like a little bit like the opposite of that, another journaling exercise that I like doing sometimes if I feel like okay, like the money is scarce, or I feel like afraid or nervous around it, I like to do this, to just like write down all the good stuff I do with my money, or all the good things I would do if I had even more, from like just being able to take Simba to the vet like whenever, and like he needs to go a lot at the moment, or being able to like treat my friends for dinner, giving money to like my friends, like animal shelter, like shelter, like all, and just yeah, whatever, like being able to afford like all the good food I want, like whatever, like write down everything, and like see how it like benefits the world that you actually like want to create, or how it's taking steps to that direction. And so those two have helped me a lot. And like what I kind of want to say or wish everybody realized, is that, like I repeat myself, that money really, it like money is just money. It's not good or bad. It's not the same as like this I'm telling myself, and I have a feeling that somebody listening to it might also benefit from it. Like money is not the same as capitalism. It's not the same as like abusing animals or other like people. It's not the same as profit. Like I think we have so many of these deep rooted beliefs that we just like have never like sat down and really like thought about them or analyzed them. Like money has existed much longer than capitalism, for example. Like this was a big one for me. Like people came up, as far as I know, people came up with the idea of money because it got like really difficult to just keep exchanging things and like services, and it like makes our like the way that we live our lives, like it makes things easier. It's just a means of exchange. So like really take some time to dig a bit deeper and see like what things come up, and see if you can, if they're actually like helpful or help you go to where you want to go, or if they're actually holding you back instead.
Love
So
that.
yeah.
No, it's
Yeah,
so powerful. Money is just money. It's just
yeah.
money. Not good or bad. So powerful. And I think with that, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think something that really helped me in embodying that, because yeah, I could say it all day long, but I didn't really believe it until the past year, was asking for help.
Mm,
Um, I asked for help from people that were in a different place with money, that understood money better than me, that could help me put systems in place that helped me realize that money was just a tool, that money is not bad or good. You know, they supported that journey. They helped educate me, and so if you feel, anyone listening, like you're struggling with really embodying that money as a tool, you're still in that scarcity mindset, or you have another negative connotation or what you perceive to be negative around money, I would really encourage you to reach out to your community, find someone online that could support you, whatever it might look like for you. But seek mentorship from someone that's
mm,
further ahead of you on the money journey. When it comes to your business, if that's an accountant that's going to help you set up, this is how much you set away for taxes. This is how much you save it, put in business savings, etc. Like if that's going to help you feel better about your relationship with money, do it. But don't be afraid to ask for help. I think all too often, especially when we're business owners, we get put in this category of, "Oh, we're supposed to know." Like, "You have a business, you must know what you're doing." No,
yeah.
I think many of us in full transparency wake up every day and we're like, "Right, so what am I supposed to do today?" No clue. So while you're exploring your relationship with money and doing these amazing journal prompts that Johanna just brought up, don't be afraid to pass some of those more stressful tasks of like account management and
Yeah,
planning for the future and investing and all these things that you've heard you should be doing off to someone else. Even if that's hiring someone and just sending them your receipts and they handle your books, and you can tap into it whenever you're ready and your mindset has changed enough for you to be able to work with money in that way. Whatever is most healthy for you. I just want to give permission to
yeah,
explore opportunities and ask for help in that way. Business looks different from everyone, for everyone. So it can look different for you too. You don't have to do your own books. You don't have to plan your own 401k or your retirement, whatever that looks like in your country. But um, I would encourage you to explore and be mindful and aware and start to take baby steps to
yeah.
redefine relationship with money.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, for sure. It's like if my experience is like proof of anything, you can start freelancing without having like any idea what you're actually doing, like money wise or not. Like luckily I know much more these days. But yeah, like there's so much shame around it somehow.
Yes.
Like on the one hand, like you said at the beginning, like we don't really learn so much. I don't know how it is in school right now. Like they don't teach us, but then there's shame around like not understanding your finances, or and like so should be no shame around that, like really, like don't try to figure it all out on your on your own, like Brianna you said. um yeah, there's so much support out there.
And it goes
And
both
yeah,
ways
sorry.
too. The shame goes both ways too, right?
Yeah,
Like even when you start earning, you could feel shame for earning.
yeah, Yeah, that's a good point too.
I
Thank you.
did when again, when I hit that first
Yeah,
10K month, I was like, "There's no way I deserve this, like, this is too
yeah,
much money." Um, and so I felt shame around it, and, Renata encouraged me to post it on social media, to be vocal and share
yeah.
my story, and I'll never forget the advice that she said. She said, "Give people the opportunity to inspire you and be inspired by you."
Mm,
So again, it's seeking those people that are ahead of you on this journey and showing people that are just starting that it's okay, that there are people that are talking about this, that there are people going through the same mindset struggles that you are.
yeah,
The more that we talk about it, because we're not getting that education, the more the shame goes away, and we'll be better people and business owners for like just talking to each other about it and being human about it.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. And definitely I recognize that the shame around like that there's still some stuff there. I don't know if it ever really goes away, but that's really like it is stopping me from like really going for it in some respects. And like sometimes I like to play around with numbers, kind of, there are these also like interesting exercises where you can kind of test your like money temperature, like what your actual like body actually feels comfortable with, like earning, or like there are like different, because your body knows so much. And it's just like interesting to see like how you feel about certain numbers, like saying them out loud. So feel like I'm rambling here a
No,
little
no,
bit,
I
but yeah,
love
the
it.
shame, like shame is such a big part of the money thing, or the money mindset. And again, like I would encourage like everybody to really try to see like could you look at it from a different angle. Like I I think it was like in a book or something, like an audio book I was listening, where somebody said something like that, as like women's, like queers, like all kinds of like people who have been you know traditionally in like, well, have been oppressed, or like that it's actually our responsibility to make more money, like because like we, again, I'm coming back to the to the point that because like we usually use it for like our communities, like empowering other people. And that really spoke to me because I think, because again you can look at it in two ways. You can feel like, oh no, I'm not worth it, like I don't deserve it. Or you can look at it like, yeah, I do deserve it, and I want to like inspire and like maybe even show other people like how to make more money, so we can build awesome communities. So yeah,
Absolutely.
whatever like inspires you or like gives you like a little like kick in the ass, if that's what you need. I sometimes need that.
Oh
But
my gosh, yeah,
yeah.
same. Because you brought up books and things, I want to mention "You Are a Badass at Making Money" by Jen
Oh
Sincero.
yeah.
That was a huge book for me in my
Yeah.
money mindset journey. I still refer back to it. So if you're looking for something to give you that kick in the pants to get
Yeah.
started on your money mindset reframe, definitely recommend picking up a copy of that. And if you're at all like writing things out list person, I highly recommend the print version so you can underline and highlight and make notes in the
Mm.
margin and think of things and journal as you go. But if you're an audiobook person, that's okay too. No shame. No shame here. Um, but I think um for me it was like when I need motivation again, it's thinking of what success means to me in making
Mm.
money, right? And
Yeah.
going back to that vision that I have for my life of the way I want to live. And when I say vision for my life, I am not a 5, 10 year planner. Like I know where I want to end up, but like the in between, I'm very fluid with. Um, and I'm more focused on things of like what activities, what around me is going to bring me joy and make me feel like at the end of the day, I was successful and I lived a good life. And so I have that written out somewhere in one of my fancy Canva docs. Um, that is just something I refer back to when I'm getting down and I'm in between clients, or I'm starting to think scarcity again of like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna find another client. It's the end of the year, everyone already has the support they need, whatever it is. I refer back to that, and it helps reframe, and get me back into an abundant state, so that I can show up for myself in the way that that version of me who wrote that was showing up for herself. So I highly recommend that people think about what success means for
Yeah,
them, emphasis on for them,
yeah,
because it is different for every single person.
yeah,
So the way that I went about this, if it's helpful for anyone to be like, okay, but how do I do that? I first got my freedom number, which is what covers all of your expenses. So rent or mortgage, electric, if you have any pets, their food, your food, those basic expenses, whatever that number totals to a year or a month, however you think best with numbers. Um, Once you have that freedom number, it takes that like scarcity anxiety of the dollar to dollar out of it. And then you can start to think of, okay, if that's covered, what can I do with the extra, with the abundance, and where can I go and how can I really use money as a tool? Because I'm using money to create the freedom. So it's a tool to freedom. It's achieved that freedom number. And now I can go above and beyond and really think of what success would look like beyond freedom.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, again, I love that you mentioned that because yes, like you get to decide what success means for you, like, and what a successful life means for you. And on this, like, now I have to like rant a little bit. So I'm so like I'm so allergic to this, like, the 10K months, like
Oh, yeah.
discourse, because it's like it's great, like if you make 10K, and if that's comes is the result of a life that you want to lead, like that it's sustainable in the long run, and like you're doing like good things. But I feel like I don't know what happened, but my guess is that this like originated in North America somewhere, where like 10K a month is like the
Probably.
means something. And then they just like took it all over the world. And you know what, like 10K months, like, and also like they just now it's like 10K like euros versus dollars. And it's like what you get with this money, like in different parts of the world, like it's vastly different. Like I've like also like in the States, I've understood that people have most people like insane like student loans, like all the things you need to like pay for, that actually in some other parts of the world you don't necessarily maybe need to deal with so much. So like what I'm trying to say with this is like, don't just take everything for granted that you hear, that it somehow
Right.
means like success, or like means that you're only then you're worthy, or like you're not successful, like whatever. Yeah, then not, it can be more than 10K, it can be less, like you get to decide. But don't just take something that the whatever gurus like came up with.
Yeah.
It's like
So
um
true. So true.
so yeah. But going back to like, I think what you said before, like that is so practical. And like I would also recommend everybody really to understand your freedom number, what do you actually need, and how much, like what do you want, and what do you want to do with it. And like this also like coming from what you're able to do when you're maybe like in your 20s is also different, like what, like the energy levels you have in your 40s or 50s or 60s, it can also change. Business and life has seasons. So yeah, just yeah, give yourself some grace and slack.
Totally. Totally. Oh, give yourself grace and slack. Yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. And I think something that's helped me, like, to give myself that grace has been, thinking about little Brianna.
Mm.
Thinking about my inner child and the dreams that she had for the life that she wanted. And so, I mean, if she saw me today, she would be like, "Are you kidding me? We live with a pink barn and we have animals? Like,
Yeah.
what? That's so freaking awesome." You know what I mean? Like, she would be my little cheerleader. And so whenever I get in
Yeah.
my funk, I'm just like, Okay, but I have things I can be grateful for that little Brianna would go crazy for. And so I've put a picture of her up in my bathroom next to my mirror. And so every day I'm looking at little Brianna and I'm reminded, like, she would be so
Yeah,
freaking proud of me. Um, Giving yourself grace, remembering gratitude, and remembering how far you've come, because it's so
yeah,
easy to forget how far you've come.
yeah,
All of this will help support that healthier mindset moving forward.
yeah. Oh, I think that's a perfect place to stop. Like
Yeah.
I'm also gonna give some attention to little Johanna after that. Thanks for sharing
Yay! Oh, I
that.
love that, I love that. Awesome. Yeah, we can wrap up. I cannot wait to hear how, all of you listening, reframe your mindset, give time to your inner child, journal your gratitudes, whatever you're pulling away from this episode, um, please share it. We wanna
Yeah,
support you, and we want this to be a community effort to everyone feeling better about being an entrepreneur, a successful one, no matter what success means for you.
yeah.
So please reach out, please share your tips. Let's make this a community rising. Bye.
Bye.